We're going to be taking a cool and scenic trip along US 23 southbound. Come on, let's go! Alright everyone, today we're going to be doing the other direction of US Highway 23, and this direction of the highway is a decently signed highway, as I really didn't find as much outliers as other highways. But it does have some absolutely stunning views, especially in the Appalachian Mountains. Oh boy, I cannot wait to share with you guys what I found along this highway. So let us get started with this cool cross-country highway. But first, you're watching The TheDerpHog, where I make highways content on all sorts of different topics. If you've been enjoying it, be sure to hit that like button. And if you've been really enjoying it, be sure to smash that subscribe button so you're notified on all future videos. And if you really want to help out the channel, become a member today, where you get custom cool emojis, early access to future videos, along with one free extra request per month. And if you don't want to become a member, you can always just pay $3 for a intersection request in future videos. Those highways will be listed down in the description below, and I'll make sure to shout you out when that video releases. So let's get on with the highway. Here's the map for US Highway 23 once again, as it starts in Jacksonville at a junction with US 17 and heads north all the way up to Michigan, where it ends at Interstate 75 in Mackinaw City. And in today's video, we're going to be starting in Mackinaw City and heading south towards Jacksonville. So with that, we're talking about southbound US 23. So we begin here on Interstate 75 in the Mackinaw City area, where US 23 is being signed south for Sheboygan and Alpena, which I think are good choices here. And we get a mileage sign that reflects the two places that we're being signed on Interstate 75, with Alpena being our primary from 93 miles away. And then after going through Sheboygan, we get another mileage sign with Alpena still as our primary from 76 miles away. And man, you can tell when this area is really sparse, because our secondary, Rogers City, is being signed from 44 miles away. And this here's in downtown Alpena. We're meeting with M32, and it looks like that we're having a palindromic meeting here, so that's pretty funny. And then still in the Alpena area, we get another mileage sign with Standish from 98 miles away. Personally, I just like to see a two-liner here with Tawa City as our primary, because yes, I get Standish is where we meet with Interstate 75 again, but it's just too small to be signed from 98 miles away, so Tawa City is should be a good primary here. Maybe after going through Harrisville you can start signing Standish, but not here in Alpena. And here in Harrisville we get Tawa City as our primary now. For our next mileage sign we get Standish sign, so why wasn't it on that direction sign earlier, MDOT? The Standish area will meet with Interstate 75 once again, and we're going to be concurrent with it as we head through Saginaw and Flint. Here in the Saginaw area, we're meeting with the eastern terminus of Interstate 10, along with old US Highway 25 here, which is now M25, which will take you into downtown Bay City. And we're now meeting with Interstate 69 here in the Flint area, as it's being signed for Port Huron and Lansing, which are good choices. And then just south of that, we split off from Interstate 75, as 23 is now getting signed south for Ann Arbor. And at random interchanges, US 23 is getting signed south for Ann Arbor. And outside of Ann Arbor, we're meeting with Interstate 96 here, which is getting signed east for Detroit and west for Lansing. And now we're getting signed for Toledo too, along with Ann Arbor, so well done, MDOT. And here in the Ann Arbor area, we're meeting with M14, which will take you west into downtown Ann Arbor, while we're going to be concurrent with M14 East, as it will take you over to Plymouth, and will be signed for Toledo still. Okay, this one is kind of confusing. M14 is splitting off from us, heading towards Plymouth and Livonia, while we're getting signed for Ann Arbor still, when we just met the road that will take you into downtown. So is there a couple extra roads that we meet that will take you there too? Is that why MDOT is signing it? Yeah, I'm confused by that. But we are still getting signed for Toledo still too, so that is pretty awesome. And still in the Ann Arbor area, we're meeting with Interstate 94, which will take you to Chicago and Detroit respectively, but we're getting signed south for Toledo still. And here we are meeting with US Highway 12, which is just getting signed for Saline. And now we're meeting with one of our own children, US 223, and the weird thing is that US 223 is actually being concurrent with us as we head out of Michigan and into Ohio. And since it terminates at the very first exit in Ohio, I don't see why not just having it terminate here. Or in fact, entirely remove US 223 because it just takes you over to US 127 and just make it M223 or something. Yeah. Anyways, here we are entering into the state of Ohio, and we can see that there's an exit sign up ahead. And that very first exit here in Ohio, we get Ohio Route 51, which will take you over to Sylvania. And still in the Toledo area, we're meeting with Interstate 475, and we're going to be concurrent with 475 West here as we bypass the city. Here are meeting with US Highway 20, which is just getting signed for Central Avenue. No, I prefer to see something else beyond Toledo, or how about Angola, because that's our next major city west of here. And if you want to see a series on US 20 that I made last year, it's in the top right corner here. And we're now getting signed for Dayton because we're in the Toledo area. Here are meeting with US Highway 24, which is getting signed for Maumee and Napoleon. And this is at the end of Interstate 475, as we're going to be joining with Interstate 75 proper, as we're now getting signed for Toledo once again. And hey, we get a wrong way concurrency here too, so that's awesome. And here is where we split off from Interstate 75, as we're now getting signed for Perrysburg and Fremont, while the Ohio Turnpike is also getting signed for Perrysburg. No, Ohio, I prefer to see actual control cities for the Turnpike, while we get Perrysburg and Fremont. No need for it on the toll road. Anyways, outside of Toledo, we split off from US Highway 20 as we're now getting signed for Fostoria, which definitely is a good choice. And we get a mileage sign that reflects it with Fostoria as our primary from 22 miles away. And now we're meeting with US Highway 6 in the middle of nowhere as it's getting signed for Fremont and Bowling Green as we're still heading towards Fostoria. And here in Fostoria, we're meeting with Ohio Route 199, and 199 is now going to be concurrent with us as we head towards our next town. And still in the Fostoria area, we're also meeting with US Highway 224 here. In our next mileage sign, we get Cary on the top line at 9 miles away, and Upper Sandusky as our primary now from 21. So that's, wow. And this here is actually in Cary, as we're now getting signed for Columbus. So that is pretty awesome by ODOT here. Well done. In fact, we get a mileage sign with Columbus as our primary from 76 miles away. Here we are meeting with US Highway 30, and we're now going to be concurrent with it as we head towards Columbus and Bucyrus. And here is where US 30 splits off from us, as it's also getting east towards Mansfield, as we're still getting signed south for Columbus, which definitely is the correct choice. And then outside of Upper Sandusky, we meet with Ohio Route 4, which I will actually be covering next week in a 4for4 special for my channel's 4th anniversary. So stay tuned for that. And this here is actually in Delaware, Ohio. We're meeting with Ohio Route 37, which will take you to US 36 and US 42. And now in the Columbus area, we're meeting with Interstate 270 here, along with Ohio Route 315. And we just get a pull through because we're about to be heading into downtown here. And if you want to check out a video on Interstate 270, it's in the top right corner here, as I made one for the college football season last season. And here we are in the heart of Columbus, meeting with Ohio Route 161, and going this direction, we do not get an error shield, which is good. And now we're meeting with Interstate 670 here, as we now get a cool view of the Columbus skyline as we're about to enter in the heart of downtown. And here in the heart of downtown, we're meeting with US Highway 33, and we're going to be concurrent with it as we head through downtown. Now we're meeting with both US 40 and 62 here, and for some random reason, we just get a mention of US 40 and no mention of US 62. Why are you neglecting US 62, ODOT? And here is where US 23 splits off from US Highway 33, as US 23 is now going to be heading towards Circleville and Chillicothe. As we're heading out of the Columbus area, we're meeting with Interstate 270 once again, and just like last time, it sadly has no control cities. The only thing that we get is 2 Interstate 71 for 270 West. And on Interstate 270 itself, we're now getting signed south for Circleville. I mean, sure, that's an alright choice because that's where we meet US 22, and it's pretty sizable, but I also prefer to see Chillicothe because that's way bigger than Circleville. And here in Circleville, we're meeting with US 22 along with Ohio Route 56 as it's being signed for Circleville and a Washington courthouse. And on US 22 itself, we're now still getting signed for Chillicothe, which is definitely a correct choice. Here in Chillicothe, we're going to be merging with US Highway 35 here, and we're going to be concurrent with it as we head around the city of Chillicothe. And here we are meeting with US Highway 50, and 50 is now going to be concurrent with us as we head around the city still. And this is where US 23 splits off from US Highway 35, as US 35 is going to be heading towards Jackson, Ohio, and we're now getting signed for Portsmouth, Ohio. And also this junction of US 35 splitting off from US Highway 23 was requested by Aaron the Fan Man, so thank you for that request. And our next mileage on, we do get Portsmouth, Ohio as our primary from 39 miles away. Here in the Portsmouth area, we're meeting with US Highway 52, and sadly we do not have a concurrency with it, but we do get some pretty cool view of the mountains here in the town. And here is downtown Portsmouth, as we can see that we're going to be crossing a bridge over the Ohio River into Kentucky soon. And here is that cool bridge, and it looks like Street View actually went through a pretty cool time where the bridge is lit up, so that is pretty awesome. And on the other side of the bridge, we're now entering into the state of Kentucky, so let us see what Kentucky has to offer on US Highway 23. And right away we get a sign for the Country Music Highway, and this portion is named after Billy Ray Cyrus. Interesting. And at random junctions, US 23 is getting signed for Greenup and Ashland, which are good choices. And this here is in downtown Ashland. We're meeting with US Highway 60, which will take you over to Interstate 64. And guess what US Highway 60 is? Hey, I know this highway. US Highway 60 is a 2,655 mile route as it travels from western Arizona over to Virginia Beach, going through 8 total states. It has 3 children, US 160, US 360, and 460, as 360 is entirely in Virginia, while 160 and 460 do go through other states. I've personally been on a very tiny part of US Highway 60 in the Charleston area with my own picture here, and plus US Highway 60 meets with both US 70 and 23, and it actually serves as the western terminus of US Highway 70 here, and also meets and parallels Interstate 64 for the eastern half of its states. It is an original 1926 route, and it goes through some pretty major cities like Louisville, Kentucky, and Phoenix, Arizona. That's a little bit about US Highway 60, and let us get back to US 23. Here in the Ashland area still, at this random junction here, we're now still getting signed for Louisa. Interesting. Personally, I like to either see like Paintsville or Pikeville because at least in those 2 towns we meet with major US highways. In Louisa, we just passed through it, and it's just a pretty small town, to be honest. And then a ways down the road, we're now meeting with Interstate 64, which is being signed for Lexington westbound, which is a cool choice. And for eastbound, personally, I'd prefer to see Charleston because Huntington is literally like right across the river from here. While we're still getting signed south for Louisa. Again, I prefer to see maybe either like Paintsville or Pikeville. But our next mileage time, we do get Paintsville as our primary from 54 miles away. That's where we meet with US 460. And then here in the Paintsville area, we meet with US 460 as we're now getting signed for Prestonsburg and Pikeville, which I think are our choices. And then our next mileage time, we do get Prestonsburg on the top line and Pikeville as our primary from 37 miles away. Here in the Pikeville area, we're meeting with US Highway 119 being signed for Meta and Williamson, while 119 South is going to be concurrent with us as we head towards other places. Okay, this is a mileage sign that I do not agree with at all. Why in the world are we getting signed for Pikeville from 1 mile away? Why are we favoring US 460 business which will take you to downtown? And Jenkins is literally the last town on US Highway 23. It's where 23 and 119 splits off. How about instead of having that Pikeville on the top line, put Jenkins on the top line and then put a primary for either US 119 or 23. No need for Jenkins here. It's also really small. Come on, Kentucky. And this is where US 460 splits off from US Highway 23 and 119, just south of Pikeville. And this here is in Jenkins, where we're splitting off from US Highway 119, getting signed south for Whitesburg and Harlan, while we're getting signed south for Pound and Norton. I kind of get why we're getting signed for Norton, that's where we meet with 58 alternate, but Pound is literally just the next town right across the border from here. No need for it. Personally, I like to see maybe Norton and Kingsport because that's what Virginia does on their first mileage sign in the state. So no need for this Pound here. Also, this junction was requested by Winter 2024 K9W as they think that US 119 South should not be signed for Harlan, instead this should be signed for Pineville. And I personally looked it up and Harlan is actually a little bit bigger than Pineville. And it's where we meet with US 421, which is a major cross-country route going from North Carolina to Indiana. So I think Harlan's a good choice here. And after that, we're now entering into the state of Virginia with absolutely stunning views of these cool mountains in the background. Man. And then our next mileage time, we get Kingsport as our primary from 58 miles away, which definitely is a correct choice. And then here in Norton, we're meeting with US Highway 58 alternate, and 58 alternate west is going to be concurrent with us as we head through the mountains here. And here's some absolutely gorgeous scenery here as we're winding through the Appalachian Mountains in the state of Virginia. And here's another view of the Appalachian Mountains with US 23 and 58 alternate being right here, as there is a overlook right next to the highway. Here is where US 23 splits off from US Highway 58 alternate here in Big Stone Gap, as 58 alternate is going to be taking you into downtown, while 23 is going to be heading south towards Gate City and Kingsport. And then a little ways down the road, we'll meet with US 58 proper along with US Highway 421, as we're now getting signed south for Kingsport and Bristol, which are definitely correct choices. Well, I do not agree with that Cumberland Gap. And then our next mileage time, we get Gate City on the top line, Kingsport for us, and Bristol for 58 and 421. Well done, VDOT. And here in Gate City, US 58 and 421 splits off from us as we're now heading south towards Kingsport. And after splitting off from US 58 and 421, we get another mileage time with Kingsport on the top line from 6 miles away. Johnson City is signed because of Interstate 26, as we're going to be concurrent with it right as we enter into the state of Tennessee. And it looks like that this third line here is covered up, so let us see what we're signed for. We're getting signed for Asheville? We're getting signed for Asheville from 95 miles away? Wow, I cannot believe this. The Appalachian Mountains is really good luck because we're getting signed for Asheville from 95 miles away. This is totally awesome. And this here is actually right on the Virginia and Tennessee state line, where we're going to be concurrent with Interstate 26 here, all the way down to Asheville, along with Johnson City. Well done. And our first exit here on Interstate 26 in US 23, we're now meaning US 11W once again. And hey T-Dot, can you please tell me what this begin sign belongs to? Does it belong to this speed limit sign or Interstate 26? Ah, there we go. Further up the road, we get our first reassurance shield for Interstate 26 and US 23. And at random intersections, Interstate 26 is now assigned east for Johnson City, which is a good choice. Here I'm being Interstate 81 once again, and it's assigned north for Bristol and south for Knoxville. And here on Interstate 87, we're actually assigned for Asheville and Johnson City still. Though apparently they have seemed to reverse the order, because when we started we had Johnson City on the top and Asheville on the bottom line, but here we have Asheville on the top and Johnson City on the bottom. I'm gonna fix that real quick. There we go. Now it's time for Johnson City and Asheville will correct it. Now we're meeting US 11E and 19W once again. And 19W South is going to be joining with us. And at this junction here, 19W, 23, and 26 are all signed for Asheville. But at the very next exit, 26 East, 19W, and 23 South are signed for Irwin. Where in the world is Irwin? And at this bridge here, we're actually going to pull through for the 3 highways, and it's signed for Asheville. So are we heading towards Asheville or Irwin, T-Dot? Make up your mind. And apparently they do, and they're signing Irwin over Asheville here at this mileage sign. And we only get a one-liner! And Irwin's only 13 miles away. Oh my goodness! You know what's further up the road, T-Dot? Asheville. And you know what's 16 times the size of Irwin? Asheville. So why are you giving the US highway treatment here on Interstate 26, T-Dot? You know what? Because of this, you're demoted from S tier to T tier for this is totally stupid. You know what? In honor of Asheville, I'm gonna burn this sign and replace it with an Asheville. Thank you very much. And this here is the exit for Irwin, and as you can see, there's like literally nothing here except for some beautiful mountains. So why was it signed on a mileage sign? Ugh. Let's see. I want to just look at this beautiful scenery as I calm down from that Irwin. And as now 19W splits off from us, as it's just signed for Temple Hill Road. No, there should be a control city for 19W South, not the Kentucky treatment all the way out here. Ah, some more beautiful scenery, thank you. Now we're entering into the North Carolina, and let's hope that North Carolina doesn't anger me. And our first mileage sign in North Carolina, we get Asheville, which is a great choice, and not like Weaverville or anything. Hey T-Dot, you should learn from NC Dot and sign Asheville. We get some more beautiful scenery as we head toward Asheville. And here is where US 19 South is going to be joining us, and it's signed for north for Burnsville and Spruce Pine. And now we're turning back into future Interstate 26 as 19 and 23 are going to be heading south towards Asheville. And on our way to Asheville, we pick up US 25 and US 70. Here's where US 19 and 23 and future Interstate 26 is going to be joining with Interstate 240 West, signed for West Asheville. And then after splitting off from Interstate 26, we're now going to be joining with US Highway 19 and 23 as we just get a pull-through exit sign, while 240 and 26 are going to be heading towards Interstate 40 here. Personally, I like to see maybe at West Asheville for 19 and 23, or maybe Enka and Candler, and not just nothing by itself. Come on, NC Dot. And then we're now meeting with Interstate 40 at exit 44, and we can see in the up here that we're now getting signed for Enka Candler. I mean, I prefer to see Canton, North Carolina, or Waynesville, because those are definitely bigger than Enka and Candler. And then in the Waynesville area, we're meeting with US 74, and 74 West is going to be congruent with us as we head towards Waynesville and other western North Carolina cities. And here's where US 19 splits off from us, as US 23 is now getting signed for Waynesville and Silva. I mean, I prefer to see Franklin here instead, because Franklin is bigger than Silva, but it's NC-DOT, what do you expect from them? And then still in the Waynesville area, we're meeting with US Highway 276, which will take you into downtown. Along it will take you over to Brevard too. Here is where NC-DOT likes to NC-DOT, as we get Silva on the top line at 15 miles away, Franklin as our secondary, and Bryson City from only 2 miles farther than Franklin. Come on, NC-DOT, why can't you put something further along US 74? Maybe Murphy or Chattanooga would be better here. And here's where we split off from US Highway 74, and we're going to be joining with US 441 here, as we're now being signed for Atlanta? We're getting signed for Atlanta? This is pretty awesome by NC-DOT. They totally made up their stupid choice from earlier, and we're now getting signed for Atlanta. And they reflect on our next mileage sign, with Atlanta being as our primary from 156 miles away. I think this part of North Carolina just loves signing Atlanta for some reason. And hey, I'm not against that. That is pretty awesome. Here you are meeting with US Highway 64 here, and 64 West is going to be concurrent with us as we head towards Atlanta. Here is where we split off from US Highway 64, as 23 and 441 is now getting signed south for Clayton and Atlanta, which are definitely the correct choices. In fact, our next mileage sign, we do get Clayton as our top line and Atlanta still as our primary from 128 miles away. And then a little ways down the road, we're now entering into the state of Georgia. Let's see if Georgia holds up with Atlanta. And surprise, surprise, they do not. We get Clarksville now as our primary from 33 miles away. I mean, I get that's where we meet with US 123 and 441 splits off from us, but I like to see Atlanta here, because if NC-DOT was signing Atlanta, you can sign it too, Georgia. It's your capital and your biggest city, so why are you neglecting it? Here in Clayton, we're meeting with US 23 and 441 and Georgia Highway 15, and we're now be concurrent with it as we head towards Atlanta here. For our next mileage time, we get Westminster as our primary from 23 miles away. The funny thing is that GDOT is actually favoring US 76 here and not US 23 and 441. Personally, I like to see a 3-liner here with Atlanta on the bottom line here too, because that's where US 23 goes, but GDOT does not want to do that for some reason. Here we are splitting off from US 441 and 23 as we're now getting signed for Westminster, while 441 and 23 are getting signed for Clarksville. Jumping ahead to Clarksville, we're meeting with our other child, US 123 here, which is getting signed for Toccoa and Livonia, as we're now getting signed south for Gainesville and Atlanta, the good Gainesville, and those are definitely correct choices for us. And this junction here was requested by Southern Route Nerd 741 here, so thank you for the request. But our next mileage chime, we do get Gainesville as our primary, but we just get 2 really close secondary and tertiary control cities. I don't know, how about remove one of these and put Atlanta on the bottom line here too, GDOT? Again, why are you neglecting out on mileage signs? And this is where US 441 splits off from us, as we're getting signed south for Commerce and Athens, as we're now getting signed south for Gainesville and Atlanta still. And this here is the start of Interstate 985 here, as we're meeting with US Highway 129, as it's getting signed for Gainesville and Cumming. And here we do get a reassurance shield for Interstate 985, the second highest numbered interstate on the entire interstate highway system. And then further down the road, we're now splitting off from Interstate 985, as we're now getting signed south for Buford and Cumming. Our next mileage time, we do get Cumming as our primary from 14 miles away. I mean, personally, I'd like to see Atlanta here too. And this is where we split off from Georgia Route 20, as we're now going to be concurrent with Georgia 13 here as we head into the heart of Atlanta. Now we're meeting with Interstate 285, the Atlanta Beltway here, and if you want to check out a video on the Atlanta Beltway, it's in the top right corner here. And here we are, with Georgia Highway 140 here in front of US 23 Wings and Grill. And this junction was actually requested by Tiger Raven, because he used to live in this area. So thank you for the request. And I want to check out this place one day. It looks pretty interesting too. And now we're meeting Interstate 85 proper, as US 23 will be heading into the heart of the city. And here I'm with US 29 and 78, and I think US 278 is also concurrent here too, but for some... After being concurrent with US 29 and 78, US 23 splits off from them, as then it's going to be joining with Georgia Route 42 here. And then as we're heading out of the city of Atlanta, we're meeting with Interstate 20 here, getting signed for Augusta and Birmingham, which are definitely correct choices. And let us see what we're signed for on Interstate 20. We just get the Kentucky treatment, which kind of makes sense because we are still in suburban Atlanta. Now we're meeting with Interstate 285 once again, along with Interstate 675, and we're not going to be paralleling 675 as we head south out of Atlanta. In fact, here is one of the meetings with Interstate 675, and for some reason we do not get any control cities here. And then further down the road, we now get Macon as our primary from 44 miles away. I mean, that's a cool choice to see, but we're also paralleling Interstate 75, so I think 75 would be the faster way to Macon from here, but it's still pretty cool to see Macon as our primary. And then after going through Forsyth, we get a one-liner here with just Macon as our primary from 25 miles away. But then immediately after, we just get a straight-up arrow for Juliet. I looked that up, and that's an unincorporated community, so G-Dot, why in the world are you doing this? That Macon one-liner was just fine. You do not need this Juliet sign here, too. Anyways, here are meeting Interstate 75 on the outskirts of Macon, as it's getting signed south for Macon. 75 north is getting signed for Atlanta here. And we're now meeting with US Highway 129 here. Now we're going to be concurrent with it as we head through the heart of Macon, along with being signed for Cochran, Milledgeville, and Gray. Here are meeting with Interstate 16 for the first time, as it's being signed for Savannah and Atlanta, which are definitely correct choices. And we can also see that we're crossing the Ocmulgee River here too. And in front of this Krispy Kreme here, we're splitting off from US Highway 129. And for some random reason, we get a 2 US 129 shield, while US 129 is going to be heading straight here. So, again, this is pretty confusing. I know that's supposed to mean for US 80, but what's this 129 shield doing here? Is it supposed to be like alt US 129 or something? Because if so, then just put that alternate here too. No need for that too. And then on the outskirts of Macon, we get a mileage sign with Cochran as our primary from 41 miles away, which I think is an alright choice. And then here we are meeting with US Highway 80, and we're going to be concurrent with US 80 as we head towards Jeffersonville and Cochran. Here is where US 80 splits off from US 23, as we're now being signed for US 129 alternate. What happened to US 23? Now we're meeting here we are meeting with Interstate 16 once again on the outskirts of Macon, and it's getting signed west for Macon, which definitely is a good choice, and east for Dublin. I've never heard of Dublin, Georgia. But the crazy thing is that on the other side of this bridge here, 16 East is getting signed for Savannah, so is Dublin for us now, or is it signed also for 16? I'm confused. And this here is in Cochran, meeting with Georgia Highway 26, and it's getting signed for Dublin as well, as we're not getting signed for Eastman now, which I think is an alright choice. And we just get a one-liner which reflects Eastman from 18 miles away. And this here is in Eastman, as we're not going to be joining with US 341 here, as we're not getting signed for McRae Helena, or as on this sign, just McRae. And here in McRae, Helena, we're meeting with US 441 and once again, along with US 319 and 280 here, as they'll also take you over to Dublin and Alamo, while we're now getting signed for Hazelhurst. Interesting. In fact, we get a mileage sign with Hazelhurst as our primary from only 19 miles away. I mean, I prefer to see maybe something else along either US 341 or US 23 here. Here we meet with US Highway 221 as it's at an obtuse angle here. I wonder if the reason why the obtuse angle is there is because of this really obtuse US 341 shield. Seriously, that sign is very, very obtuse. It's huge. And after meeting US 221, we split off from US Highway 341 and we get an error shield as we're now going to be concurrent with Georgia Highway 19 here as we head towards our next control city. On our next mileage time, we get Alma on the top line at 25 miles away and Waycross now as our primary from 51. Now we're going to be joining with the Great US 1 here and we'll be concurrent with it as we head towards Alma and Waycross. And now we have the 1, 2, 3, 4 concurrency. Yippee! And we get another mileage sign with just the same control cities as we saw on US 23 Independent. And I'm going to be joining with US 82 here, and we get another error shield. Funny. Now we're meeting with US Highway 84 here in the heart of Waycross, as 84 West is being signed for Valdosta, which definitely is an awesome choice. And we'll look at that. We get a third error shield here as we get US 1, US 23, US 82, and US 84 all on the same road here. And here's where we split off from US 82 and 84 as US 1 and 23 are going to be heading towards Folkston and Jacksonville here. And once we meet with US Highway 301, we're now going to be concurrent with it as we head towards Folkston and Jacksonville, which are definitely good choices. Hey, look at that! We hit the jackpot of highways. We have US 1, US 23, Georgia 23, Georgia 4, Georgia 15, 121, and US Highway 301. Interesting how US 23 and Georgia 23 are now concurrent with each other. And after going through Folkston, we're now entering into the state of Florida, and this is actually a really cool welcome sign, FDOT. And this here is in Callahan, and I could not get a good view of the intersection here, so I had to jump onto some sort of parking lot just to get this good view. I did not really enjoy it. And after once 301 splits off from us, we're now getting signed for Jacksonville on the top line and Daytona Beach now as our primary from 103 miles away. I mean, to be fair, St. Augustine and Daytona Beach are one's control cities beyond Jacksonville because US 23 ends in Jacksonville. What else are you going to sign? The Atlantic Ocean? And on the outskirts of Jacksonville, we're meeting with Interstate 295 here, and let us see what we're signed for on Interstate 295. We just get 1 and 23 South, which I think is an alright choice because we're about to enter into downtown Jacksonville. Also, this was my own picture when I went through the Jacksonville area back in November, so yay. And this is where we split off from US Highway 1 as it's being signed south to Interstate 95 with a Kentucky treatment, which again makes sense because it's about to enter downtown. And as we're entering into downtown, we meet with Interstate 95 here, and we get a cool view of the Jacksonville skyline. And right after that area where roughly US Highway 23 ends, as FDOT does not give us a end US 23 shield. But they do give us a begin US 23 shield for some reason. And it's just on. Anyways, with that, we move on to the way it should be. So these are all the places that I think should be signed on US Highway 23. Again, if you have any suggestions or if you want to make any changes to this list, please let me know down in the comment sections below. And I'd love to talk about with the list of US Highway 23. So that ends US Highway 23. Thank you all so much for watching this video on US Highway 23 southbound. I hope you got to learn a little bit more about the highway. and I definitely would like to travel on this highway someday, especially up in the Appalachian Mountains in Virginia and Tennessee and North Carolina. So with that, here are my next few highways. If you have any intersection requests for any of these upcoming highways, please let me know down in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to shout you out once these highways release. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all next week as we do my 4-year anniversary special.